Hello writers and welcome back to my life. It's Writer Wednesday, the day that I talk about the art and the business of writing and tell you how I do what I do as an indie author. Today's question comes from my patron Dan M, who asked for advice on the balance between writing and the rest of your life. How do you make people understand that writing time is work time? You often look available for other people's needs, so how do you make them understand that you need the time to write? So this is a tough one for a lot of authors. It was very hard for me the first few years that I was writing. It's less of an issue now because this is my full-time job. I'm no longer getting my writing time exclusively on weeknights and the weekends or with my wife running a daycare in our house like I was in the beginning. But there are still times where I do work at night or on the weekends, and that can be really tough, especially with 3 kids in the house. And it's not just because they can be noisy, although, to be clear, they can. They can be noisy. They can be very noisy. It's weird because I'm not just a writer. I am a father. It is my job to be there for my kids and to be here in the house and not be participating in whatever family activities are going on at the time feels a little bit wrong. And that's without even contending with my significant other, because my wife Megan has been fully supportive of my writing journey ever since I first started, and that's just not the case for every writer. As Dan says in the question, writing time is not always seen as work time by everyone, and that sometimes includes members of your own family, which kind of stinks. The best way that I can think to solve this is by insisting that you get some alone time, and you just happen to use that alone time to write. You generally don't get as much pushback this way. Even if a family member isn't fully supportive of the writing or doesn't necessarily think that it's going to turn into a career, people tend to understand that everyone needs some time alone for themselves. Like if you were to talk to your significant other and say, hey, I want to go out with my friends once a week for a few hours, they're probably going to be fine with that. I mean, most people would be okay with that. If not, something might be wrong. And if you ask for that alone time and you just happen to be using it to write, but you frame it that way, I think you're more likely to get agreement. However, sometimes that still isn't enough. Sometimes you will find your alone time being broken into, even if you have said that it is going to be at this time on this day. Like between 9 and 10 every night is going to be my alone time, but you keep getting interrupted. And this is particularly true if you don't have a separate space to write in. Like I have this office. This is where I work, but a lot of people don't have that. They have a writing desk in their living room or their bedroom, and that will just lead to interruptions. And in that case, the best solution is just to leave your space, your house or apartment. Go somewhere else. Go to your local coffee shop and write from there. Yes, you will look like the stereotypical writer forever working on their next novel in the local coffee shop, but you will be working. And the vast majority of people in the world won't come up and bug a total stranger working on a computer, especially if you are wearing headphones or have earbuds in. You don't even need to be listening to music. You can just have them on, like a big do not disturb sign. And this is something that I'm probably going to start doing in the future. Right now, my weekends are pretty full up and I haven't been doing writing on the weekends, but I am going to start again in the future, and I've just realized that I shouldn't put a burden on my family not to disturb me by writing from here. Like, it's not a big deal during the weekdays because the kids are all in school and Megan is here working with me. Like, it is the work environment for both of us, so that's no issue. But writing at nights or on the weekends is a lot harder, and it's turned into this thing where, like, I have to coordinate around Megan, like, taking the kids out, and sometimes she takes the kids out to other places just so that I can have writing time, and, like, that's not something that I should be putting on my family, honestly. And even when I just say, okay, I'm just gonna buckle down, I'm gonna put on headphones, I'm gonna blare music, and you guys can stay in the house, then when I take breaks from our writing, which you should be taking breaks from your writing to walk around and keep your body limber, as soon as I step out of the office door, the kids just dogpile me. It's just a mess. So for a few hours at least on the weekends, I'm going to be taking myself and my laptop to a coffee shop in town, and I'm going to be doing some writing, not from home. Because listen, even if writing isn't your job yet, if you don't treat your writing time as precious and if you don't get the agreement from other people to do so, it will never become your job. And just like at any place of work, you have to have a place of work where you are reasonably certain you are not going to be distracted. There's a reason employers prefer to have a place where everyone comes together to work. It's not just because they want to keep an eye on everyone. It's because when you're at home, it's a lot harder to stay focused on your job instead of the things you'd normally be doing when you're at home. So to recap, get some agreement from your family to have some alone time, whatever time that is, but say exactly when it's going to be and on what days. And spend that that time alone in a place where you won't be disturbed. And if you keep getting distracted, no matter the rules that are put in place, leave. Leave your home, go somewhere else where people aren't going to continue putting demands on you and your time. Thanks again to Dan M for the question. I hope that the answer was helpful. A reminder that my $5 patrons like Dan get to see these Writer Wednesday videos 2 weeks in advance, and they are also the only people who are allowed to ask questions for me to answer in the series. So if any of that sounds good to you, check out my Patreon right down there. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons for their incredible support, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye!